They call it the Burning Fields, but to the 500,000 people living there, it's just home. Naples, Italy, where ancient Romans built cities, where tourists flock for pizza and history, where families have lived for generations without knowing the truth. They're living inside a supervolcano crater. The magnitude 4.4 earthquake on March 13th was not a warning. It was an announcement. After decades of silence, the Campi Flegrei supervolcano is stirring. Artificial intelligence scanning the region has just revealed the scope of what has been happening beneath southern Italy. 54,000 earthquakes. That is 4 times more than scientists detected with traditional monitoring, the ground rising like a slow-motion explosion. Deep beneath the Mediterranean, a magma system connects not just to one volcano, but to an entire network of geological giants. Here is what changes everything. Campi Flegrei is not operating alone. It shares the same deep magma source as Vesuvius. When one system pressurizes, it affects the other. They are not separate volcanoes threatening separate cities. They are connected weapons pointed at the heart of Europe. What happens when a supervolcano that once triggered a global climate catastrophe starts showing the same warning signs that preceded history's most devastating eruptions? Why are volcanologists now referring to 500,000 people as trapped rather than simply at risk? The shadow of Mount Vesuvius has loomed over southern Italy for millennia. This infamous volcano, rising menacingly above the Gulf of Naples, is best known for its catastrophic eruption in 79 AD that buried the ancient Roman cities of Pompeii and Herculaneum under a suffocating blanket of volcanic ash and pumice. The destruction was swift and merciless. Pyroclastic flows, superheated avalanches of ash, rock, and gases raced down the slopes of Vesuvius at speeds of 100 kilometers per hour. They incinerated everything in their path, carbonizing organic material and entombing the cities in a matter of hours. The scenes of terror and suffering, forever frozen in the volcanic deposits, serve as a chilling reminder of Vesuvius's fury. But Vesuvius's destructive power did not end with Pompeii. Over the past 2,000 years, this restless giant has erupted more than 30 times, earning it the title of one of the world's most dangerous volcanoes. Its last major eruption in 1944 sent lava fountains soaring 800 meters into the air and unleashed torrents of ash and rock that devastated nearby villages. The eruption column towered 9 kilometers above the crater, raining ash and pumice across the region. Lava flows engulfed the villages of Massa and San Sebastiano, while heavy ashfall collapsed roofs and contaminated water supplies as far as Naples. By the time the eruption ended, 26 people were dead, thousands were homeless, and the landscape was transformed into an alien wasteland of steaming ash and rubble. Since then, Vesuvius has entered what volcanologists call a closed conduit phase, where its vent system has sealed itself shut. Do not be fooled by its apparent slumber. Beneath the surface, Vesuvius is anything but dormant. In the past decade alone, scientists have detected over 8,000 small earthquakes rumbling beneath the volcano. Most are clustered in 2 distinct zones. Shallow tremors occur within the volcanic edifice itself, and deeper seismic events occur 1 to 6 kilometers below sea level. It is as if the volcano is rumbling in its sleep, its magma chamber pulsing with pent-up pressure. These seismic patterns are not random. They reveal a complex interplay of magmatic gases, hydrothermal fluids, and fractured rock responding to changes deep within the volcano. Each tremor is a small-scale replay of the processes that precede major eruptions. Magma rising, gases exsolving, and the ground deforming under immense pressure. But here is what is truly unsettling. Vesuvius is not just a threat to Naples. It is part of a far larger and more dangerous volcanic system that spans the entire Campanian region of southern Italy. A system that includes its even more terrifying twin, Campi Flegrei supervolcano. Just 10 kilometers west of Vesuvius lies a volcanic crater so vast it is more like a sprawling caldera. This is Campi Flegrei, a supervolcano that makes Vesuvius look like a mere firecracker by comparison. 39,000 years ago, Campi Flegrei unleashed the apocalyptic Campanian ignimbrite eruption, spewing over 300 cubic kilometers of ash and pumice across an area larger than modern-day Italy. It plunged the Mediterranean into a volcanic winter and may have pushed Neanderthals to the brink of extinction in Europe. The ash from this catastrophic event blanketed an area of over 3.7 million square kilometers, stretching from the Russian plains to the coast of North Africa. It buried land and sea alike under meters of choking debris, transforming the landscape into a barren, ashen wasteland. The eruption's effects on the climate were equally devastating. Sulfur dioxide and ash injected into the stratosphere blocked out sunlight, causing regional temperatures to plummet by up to 10 degrees Celsius. This volcanic winter persisted for years, disrupting weather patterns, ecosystem cycles, and the delicate balance of life itself. For the Neanderthals already struggling to adapt to a changing climate and competition with modern humans, the Campanian ignimbrite eruption may have been the final blow. Genetic evidence suggests their populations drastically declined in the eruption's aftermath, dwindling to isolated pockets before vanishing entirely. 15,000 years later, the volcano struck again in the Neapolitan yellow tuff eruption, reshaping the region's entire geography and creating the present-day caldera that now cradles metropolitan Naples. This eruption, while smaller than its predecessor, still ejected over 40 cubic kilometers of magma, burying the region under a thick layer of distinctive yellow ash and pumice. Pyroclastic flows surged across the landscape, leveling hills, choking valleys, and forever altering the course of rivers and coastlines. In the eruption's aftermath, the caldera floor collapsed, forming a vast circular depression over 12 kilometers wide. This newly forged landscape would become the crucible of Neapolitan civilization, a fertile but perilous ground where cities would rise, cultures would flourish, and the spectre of volcanic cataclysm would forever loom. Today, over 500,000 people live directly within this active volcanic crater. Volcanologists have a chilling term for their predicament: trapped rather than simply at risk. If Campi Flegrei awakens in fury, there may be no escape for those in its immediate path. The logistical challenges of evacuating such a densely populated area are staggering. Narrow, winding streets, ancient infrastructure, and the sheer scale of the population make rapid evacuation all but impossible. Even with the most optimistic estimates, it would take days to move everyone to safety. That is a luxury of time that Campi Flegrei's explosive history suggests may not exist. And the signs of that awakening are now impossible to ignore. Since 2005, the caldera has been rising in a process called bradyseism, gradual ground uplift caused by magma or hydrothermal pressure from below. In the past 20 years, parts of the caldera have swelled by more than 60 centimeters. This ground deformation is not just an abstract data point, it is a tangible, visible sign of the forces gathering beneath the surface. In the Pozzuoli district, the ancient Roman marketplace of Serapeum serves as a stark testament to this unrest. Its majestic columns, once submerged by bradyseism, now stand exposed, a silent witness to the caldera's restless stirrings. But it was the magnitude 4.4 earthquake on March 13th, 2025 that truly shook the scientific community. This was not just the strongest quake to hit the region in 40 years. As an AI analysis would soon reveal, it was a sign that something far more alarming was unfolding beneath the caldera. In November 2025, researchers from Stanford University and Italy's National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology decided to analyze Campi Flegrei's seismic data using cutting-edge AI algorithms. What they discovered stunned even seasoned volcanologists. Traditional monitoring methods had identified approximately 12,000 earthquakes in the region over the past 3 years. That was concerning, but not unprecedented by Campi Flegrei's restless standards. The AI analysis, however, revealed a staggering 54,000 seismic events, more than 4 times what scientists had detected. This discrepancy was not just a matter of more sensitive detection. It revealed a fundamental limitation in how we monitor and understand complex volcanic systems. The AI algorithms, trained on decades of global seismic data, were able to recognize subtle patterns and precursors that escaped even the most experienced human analysts. Even more disturbing was the pattern of these quakes. They were not random tremors, but organized swarms that traced the outlines of multiple faults crisscrossing the caldera. The ground was not just shaking, it was systematically unzipping along lines of weakness, like a pressure cooker approaching criticality. These fault systems, some of which were previously unknown, paint a picture of a caldera literally bursting at the seams. Each swarm, each fault activation, is a sign of the immense pressures accumulating beneath the surface, seeking release through any available pathway. Stanford geophysicist Dr. Xing Tan put it bluntly. He said they were not just seeing seismic noise here. These were strong indications of magmatic or hydrothermal fluids forcing their way through the crust. In other words, something was rising beneath Campi Flegrei with frightening speed and pressure. And as a groundbreaking study by geologist Dr. Tiziana Venorio would soon reveal, that something was more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Using cutting-edge laboratory experiments and computer modelling, Dr. Venorio's team made a startling discovery about Campi Flegrei's underlying geology. Beneath the caldera lies a massive hydrothermal system, a network of reservoirs and pathways filled with superheated water and gases. This hydrothermal labyrinth is not just a passive feature, it is a dynamic, reactive system that can amplify and accelerate the path to eruption. The reservoirs act as pressure cookers, storing immense energy that can be rapidly transferred to the magmatic system above. Ordinarily, these fluids would percolate gradually through the overlying rock, venting their pressure in small earthquakes and fumarole emissions. But Campi Flegrei's system is different. It is capped by a self-sealing layer of mineral deposits that act like a pressure cooker's lid, trapping the fluids until they reach critical thresholds. This self-sealing behavior is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it can delay and mitigate minor unrest, as the cap contains and dissipates pressure buildups. But it also allows the system to store far more energy than an open system would permit. When the seal finally breaks, the pent-up fluids can surge into the magma with explosive consequences. Dr. Venorio's experiments showed that this pressure cooker effect can rapidly amplify small changes in the magmatic system into full-blown eruption triggers. A minor increase in magma supply or gas exsolution can cause the hydrothermal reservoir to swell, raising the caldera floor and stressing its network of faults to their breaking point. These changes do not necessarily require a massive influx of new magma. Even a small perturbation can set off a chain reaction as the pressurized fluids flash to steam, fracture the surrounding rock, and provide new pathways for magma ascent. It is a geological feedback loop that can accelerate an eruption's onset from years to mere days. This is exactly what seismic data and ground deformation measurements are now showing in real time. The magma pressure cooker is reaching its limit, and when it finally fails, it will not just vent, it will explode. A major eruption of Campi Flegrei would be a European catastrophe without precedent in recorded history. The immediate blast zone could extend over 200 square kilometers, burying Naples and its surrounding cities under a merciless torrent of ash and pyroclastic flows. These flows, the infamous glowing avalanches of volcanic eruptions, are perhaps the most terrifying of all volcanic hazards. They surge outward from the vent at hurricane speeds, incinerating, crushing, and burying everything in their path. No human force can stop them, no shelter can withstand them. In the blink of an eye, they can turn a vibrant city into a smouldering necropolis. But the devastation would not stop there. An eruption on this scale would send megatons of ash into the stratosphere, blotting out sunlight and potentially triggering a years-long volcanic winter across Europe and beyond. Volcanic ash and acidic aerosols could contaminate croplands, collapse roofs and clog machinery as far away as Moscow or Madrid. The ash would also pose a severe threat to aviation. The fine abrasive particles can melt inside jet engines, causing them to fail mid-flight. Even a small concentration can sandblast windshields, clog air filters, and damage sensitive avionics. The 2010 eruption of Iceland's Eyjafjallajökull volcano, a minor event compared to a potential Campi Flegrei blast, grounded over 100,000 flights and cost the global economy billions. Economic losses from trade disruptions, infrastructure damage, and agricultural failures could soar into the trillions of euros. Global supply chains, already strained by decades of instability, could unravel entirely as critical nodes like the port of Naples are buried under meters of ash. And that is not counting the unimaginable human toll. Millions left homeless, thousands potentially killed, a refugee crisis that could reshape the geopolitical map of Europe. The strain on emergency services, healthcare systems, and basic necessities like food and clean water would be unimaginable. Hospitals would be overwhelmed, supply lines severed, and public order stretched to its breaking point. The fabric of modern European society, already frayed by years of crisis, could disintegrate entirely. Worst of all, there would be little to no warning. Volcanologists estimate that a Campi Flegrei eruption could progress from initial unrest to full-scale paroxysm in as little as 24 hours. Nowhere near enough time to evacuate the 500,000 people living directly in harm's way. This rapidity is what keeps volcanologists awake at night. Unlike hurricanes or even earthquakes, which can be detected hours or minutes before they strike, a volcanic eruption can unfold with terrifying speed. The signs of imminent danger, the spike in seismicity, the ground deformation, the gas emissions, may manifest mere hours before the blast. By the time the alarm is raised, it may already be too late. This is the doomsday scenario that Italian authorities are now frantically preparing for. Civil defense drills, evacuation route planning, even the construction of eruption shelters, all for a volcanic emergency more extreme than any in living memory. But even the best laid plans face an uncomfortable reality. There is no precedent for evacuating a major metropolitan area in the face of an imminent volcanic eruption. The logistical, economic, and social challenges are beyond anything modern disaster management has faced. Even if everything goes perfectly, untold numbers will be left behind, trapped in the path of destruction. Because here is the awful reality. It is not a matter of if Campi Flegrei will erupt again. It is a matter of when. Every sign now points to that moment approaching with terrifying speed. The seismic swarms, the ground deformation, the gas emissions are all accelerating at a pace that has left even the most experienced volcanologists reeling. The Caldera is not just waking up, it is waking up angry, shedding the remnants of its long slumber with a violence that grows more pronounced by the day. The call to action is clear. The Campi Flegrei supervolcano is stirring. Vesuvius is rumbling in its shadow. 500,000 people are living in the crosshairs of a geological disaster without precedent. The time to act is now, before the burning fields of Naples become the epicenter of a catastrophe that reshapes Europe forever. But what can be done in the face of such an implacable threat? Evacuation plans, emergency drills, engineering defences all seem woefully inadequate against the raw, primal power of a supervolcano roused to fury. We are like ants, scurrying in the shadow of a giant, hoping that our frantic preparations will somehow keep us safe from its wrath. Perhaps, in the end, all we can do is bear witness. To watch, to warn, and to remember. To tell the story of the burning fields and the cities that once thrived in their shadow. To honour the lives that will be lost, the dreams that will be shattered, the world that will be forever changed. And to pray that when the ash settles and the fires fade, there will still be someone left to hear our tale. Subscribe to Earthers No Onda. Hurry to Earth Attacks for all the latest updates on this unfolding seismic crisis. The fate of Italy and Europe may depend on it.